Meghalaya, abode of the clouds. With its rolling hills, magnificent caves, innumerable waterfalls, pine forests, and beautiful people, Meghalaya is as picture postcard a land as there could be one. Tourists flock to this state in northeastern India to visit Cherrapunji, among the rainiest places in the world, and to enjoy the state's natural beauty, be it in the Khasi, Garo or Jaintia hills. But life can be harsh for residents of such sylvan locations too. A fact that tourists seeking temporary solace from the hustle-bustle of city life would not even imagine.
We were not even allowed to speak to anyone, let alone be part of routine village life. It was as if we had done something wrong.
It is a long story, the one you are about to hear. And it happened here, in this picture postcard village not very far from Cherrapunji. And actually, the spot which is considered the rainiest in the world. Mausanram is peopled by faces like these. Faces, the kind of which you see everywhere in Meghalaya. But these faces in Mausanram tell a story. A story, the genesis of which lay in the fact that Meghalaya's traditional local governance system could be prone to abuse due to its inherent lack of total participatory democracy. "17 residents of Mausanram had filed a right to information application in 2011 because they wanted to find out where the PDS food grains they were entitled to get but were not getting were going to. The reply to the application shocked them because the villagers were being duped by someone holding the respected position of the Rangbashnong, or the chief of the village Dorbar, the traditional grassroots local governance structure. The PDS licensee, who was the headman's wife, was diverting the food grains meant for villagers to the open market. The Rangbashnong took it as a personal affront and made the filing of the RTI application seem like an act of rebellion against the Dorbar structure itself. And he engineered a social boycott of all those who had filed the application.
I am not entitled to get PDS food grain, but when those who are entitled approached me for help, I took the initiative to file the RTI application jointly. Out of empathy with them, I took up the matter. But the truth is, we were raising our voices against the headman. We always believed that as the leader of the locality, whatever he did was for the good of the people. But the RTI proved otherwise, and our problems also arose because of the same RTI. When the headman learnt about it, he called a meeting. He might have also spoken to many of those who had signed the RTI application because some of them later backed out, though they had submitted photocopies of their ration cards with the application. It was made to seem like these people were against the Dorbar, but it was not so. Those who faced the social boycott went through real bad times. But then, other Dorbar members and village elders finally learned the truth and they resolved the matter. What happened was really unfortunate. It happened because of the then headman's misuse of the position. The irregularities had continued for several years, and particularly Affected were the BPL category ration card holders. Most of those are illiterate people and thus had no clue about the diversion of the rice they should have got. That is why I felt like taking up the issue and had to pay a heavy price for it. But then, ultimately, truth prevailed.
Of course, better sense prevailed later. And village elders not only made the headman relinquish his position, but also made him withdraw the boycott call and got him to distribute all the diverted food grains to those who are actually entitled to get them.
It is very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. When people elect the Rambashnong, then when they elect him with much faith. But if the person who has been elected misuses his power, then what can we do? All those 17 families or 18 families who have filed the RTI and all, they have got all the papers. And all those papers indicated that there was something wrong with the PDS system here in Mosandam. Many people who did not understand the fact of the matter, they were made to misunderstand that these 18 families, they are anti-Durbar. So because of that, there was lots of hue and cry against these people, making them like anti-social or anti-Durbar. So that's why in the heat of the moment, they decided to boycott them. But as soon as they made the decision to boycott them, they had to regret, because they know that they stand by the fact.
There is a misbehavior act from the this head shops, and the wife of our ex-man, ex-Rambashnong. Then in that case, the people are complaining about the undistribution of the food grains here in the village. And we found, by the village also we found that that is the truth. And we have made him to redistribute all the essential commodities that has not been distributed before. And after distributing to the people, then they come to compromise. Social boycott means it's only in name here in North Sudan. They do all the things, they get all the benefits. Only that word, it will create trouble for these people. They feel unsafety in the village. But according to the natural procedure of the village, it is only just to show them, because they will not do against the village next time. And now we have removed that boycott. The village itself has removed that social boycott.
Incidents like this are not really widespread. But some recent cases of abuse of power in the age-old traditional local governance system that cover both urban and rural areas have made the society elders go for some loud thinking. And many among them believe it's time for drastic restructuring of these bodies to make them modern, democratic bodies, as opposed to their current format that keeps, among others, women and handicapped people out of the system. There is a strongly emerging view that if real decentralization of power has to happen in Meghalaya, these bodies must embrace modern democratic practices, taking in elements from the Panchayati Raj system if required, even while retaining their traditional formats.
There is urgent need for restructuring the traditional institutions that we have in Meghalaya, especially to make them relevant to the needs of the times. If there is now a paradigm shift because of the 73rd Amendment and the 74th Amendment to the Constitution to bring in participation of the people, we need to bring the same paradigm here in Meghalaya.
There is need for grassroots governance, and these traditional institutions are not, by definition, they have come up only as arbiters when there is a conflict about property, about boundaries and all that. They have never played any governance role, so they have no idea how to deliver governance.
Historically, the Khasis, Jaintiyas and Garos have had well-developed local governance systems of their own. covering both urban and rural areas. The Jaintias and Khasis have a fairly organized system of governance under a Seam, which is the highest level in the hierarchy. The Jaintia system is then divided into ilakas under a doloi, followed by the lowest level of territorial entity, which is a village represented by a Vahichnong, selected from among the male adults. In the Khasi society, the Seam discharges administrative, military, judicial and religious functions in consultation with Dorbar Mantri, consisting of members of the principal clans, and the Hima Dorbar, which elects the Seam. The lowest level is the village Dorbar, headed by a Rang Bashnong, elected by the adult male population in the village. The Garos have a two-level governance system, with a Nokma heading the Akings that correspond to a village, and a Lashkar heading a group of villages. In view of these well-entrenched traditional local governance systems, the centre, as per the 6th schedule of the Indian Constitution, kept Meghalaya out of the purview of the Panchayati Raj system. But with only a few powerful clans controlling these structures that are out of bounds for women and even physically handicapped people, the debate is now about how to modify the system, keeping in mind the needs of the modern times.
The challenge has been for the traditional systems, especially among the Khasis, to reflect the changes that have taken place in society, in politics, in the nature of government. I think they're still respected to a great extent, but they don't have the influence they had in the past for a very simple reason, because government is substantially more powerful.
The process of modernization has created a lot of urban areas. Now, Shillong is an urban area that again is divided into a number of Dorbars. Now, because the traditional system of the Dorbar system does not allow any women or non-Khasis to be part of the Dorbar, what has happened is these bodies have been restricted to only the particular community.
The only people who resist the idea of modernization or the idea of coming up with grassroots institutions that are more democratic are people with vested interests. Those who are holding the post of Rang Bashnong, they find that it serves their purpose. You know, they are now handling MLA schemes and all that. So they have a vested interest in keeping tradition alive. But it doesn't work for the common people. It doesn't work for the last person in the village. They don't get anything out of this system.
I think codification is important, because at the moment it's unconstitutional. It's outside the system. Even so, you have this contradiction where an organization, a system is accepted by people, but it's not legal.
Village Darbars have to be reorganized into really responsible local self-government, like elections by secret ballot, and the tenure should be fixed, and audit and everything should be in place.
In fact, the lack of a grassroots democratic governance system has made decentralization of power a cumbersome process in Meghalaya. For example, unlike in other states having panchayats, Meghalaya has had to devise something called the Village Employment Council, or VECs, specifically to implement schemes like the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. The VEC structure, operating under Area Employment Councils, or AECs, has brought in an institutional mechanism at the village level. For example, unlike in the Dorbars, VECs have a proper administrative and accounting system. More often than not, however, it is the Rang Bashnong that heads the VEC, thus underlining the fact that decentralization is taking a circuitous route in Meghalaya something that can be avoided if the traditional bodies embrace modern democratic practices. The dichotomy is even more pronounced when one sees the Dorbars overseeing work under the MLA area development funds, but not those under central schemes like Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act.
तो एमएलए बोला देखिए मैं 10,000 का ऊपर में मैं वोट मिला हूँ 10,000 का ऊपर में वोट मिलने से हर एक आदमी को अगर देने लगेगा तो हमारा एमएलए उठ जाएगा तो हम तो अपना घोषित तो देगा नहीं लेकिन स्कीम बनाओ हम देगा आप लोग ऐसा करो रबर के लिए स्कीम है.
Under the AACs we have around 4 to 5 VECs under one particular AEC, and these VECs are the members of the locals themselves. I mean, like they are the members of the local Darbars themselves. So they are mainly the functionaries of these VECs. I have seen in many of our villages here the Rang Bashnong, all right. So the head of the Darbar, I can say, works in tandem with the VEC functionaries. So maybe he's been able to balance out if there is also any kind of resentment or if there's any kind of debate also, he must have been able to balance it out because the two of them works in collaboration with the other.
But what has brought the VECs under the spotlight in Meghalaya is that they have made equal participation of women in the decision-making process possible. In a matrilineal society like Meghalaya, it surely means a lot. This is more so because the question has not been just about the misuse of power of the village assembly structure, as seen in B. Rani's case, but of how everyone in Meghalaya's villages cannot afford to even dream about becoming a village head, as the system traditionally is structured to be controlled only by a few powerful clans. This is where the VECs have become relevant, as they allow every adult eligible to be a part of it. Stories like that of B. Rani and initiation of the VEC and AEC structures make it amply clear that modernization of the traditional local governance systems is of utmost importance if real decentralization of power has to happen for the benefit of the people of Meghalaya.
The very term traditional institution is an oxymoron because this is a modern society. You cannot juxtapose yourself with modern society.